I'm Michelle Needens. I'm one of the social workers here at KU Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. I work on the cognitive care network team. And we're talking today about those personal affair planning considerations, legal issues, general legal considerations that it is good to think about and to ensure that you have in place. I want to say, first of all, as we get started, I'm a clinical social worker. I'm not an attorney. And so there's nothing that we're going to talk about today that it constitutes legal advice, but we are going to talk about general legal planning considerations and when it might be appropriate to reach out to an attorney and how to think about or find those attorneys. So first of all, we start with why in the world do we need to think about these things now? I mean, you have mild cognitive impairment, you have some early dementia, you're doing well. I would say it doesn't matter what diagnosis anybody has or if they even have a diagnosis of anything, that all of us should have these kind of planning documents, and we should be having these kind of conversations with our family at no matter what our age is and no matter what our medical condition is. So this is not a conversation about get your affairs in order because of a certain diagnosis. This is a conversation about get your affairs in order because that would be what I recommend to every person out there. And partly why I think it is important is because it allows us, those of us doing the documents, you, to ensure your voice and views are clear. It is the mechanism of which you to really take control in many ways. And we're going to talk about what that means in terms of voice and views here in a minute. It reduces the worry list. Some of you may be concerned about the future. You may be concerned about, is this process undue stress for my family, and worrying about the family experience in it. And when we really look at planning, there are so many things we can do to help families. And one of those is to make sure we have appropriate documents in line. That's a major help to families, and not only in reducing your worry list and really thinking through what your wishes are, but it might help families down the road if ever there was a time that there was a family member, a spouse that's called upon to make a decision, that the burden would not have to be on that person's shoulders about, what would he have wanted or what would she have wanted, that they would be clear on that. It can reduce family conflict. And I'm sure you've had the experience, as most of us have, that in stressful situations, sometimes family conflict, sometimes conflict we did not think would arise, we never would have guessed. Certain behaviors would happen. And so these documents, putting planning documents in place, really thinking through some of these legal issues can help reduce family conflict. And also relieves family members from having to sort out later when these documents may be crucial. So all of this is, we're underlining two things: that it can help you, as it should help all of us, that get, to make sure that we're thinking ahead and representing our perspective in decisions that we may or may not be part of. And the second thing is really supporting your family and relieving some of those anticipatory worries. So what are the documents? What are the legal issues that we need to be paying attention to? First and foremost is having a durable power of attorney. That means a durable power of attorney for both healthcare and finance. What does a durable power of attorney mean? It's a document that says if you're unable to make decisions based on health conditions, that someone else can make decisions for you. So you want to think through who would that person be. There's typically a person appointed, and then there are there's secondary people that can be appointed. So if something happens to the first person, or they're unavailable, or you know, that they're out of the country, etc., that a secondary person can assist in making decisions. Sometimes people will say to me, I want to put both my children. And oftentimes the advice that they will have been given is to say and or rather than and, that having two people be your power of attorney with an and that it takes both people to make the decision can be tricky. Now you may have a complicated situation in which that and is important, and that's one of those things that I would encourage you to talk with an attorney about. Most often a durable power of attorney is prepared by an attorney. There are online documents that that some people use, but most often and most securely, because there are different state regulations, etc., that it is often just clearer, cleaner, safer, etc., to be prepared by a attorney. And they could guide you with some of the questions in terms of who to appoint and any safety backup kind of system that needs to be in place. And then there's a living will. And a living will means it is a document that talks about what you would want done medically if you were incapacitated and not able to recover. For example, a living will indicate, do you want to be resuscitated in certain conditions? Do you want to have a feeding tube in certain conditions? And most people have pretty clear ideas about, if I reach a point that there's no chance of recovery, and under these conditions, which you can identify, most living wills have some conditions and criteria identified. You can identify others, but under these certain conditions, here's what I want to happen. Sometimes people will say, you know, I want medicine taken off except for X, or they'll say, I don't want antibiotics given. I don't want, you know, surgeries or diagnostic procedures. But I think it's really important to think through that. If you would ever be in a situation where your recovery was not possible and you were unable to express your needs or your wants, your desires, your choices, your family needs to be as clear as they can be on really what you would have them do. So there are many documents and many educational pieces on living wills and creating them. But I think one of the many very good documents to review and read is something called 5 Wishes. And I have the citation there, 5wishes.org. But you could look at that and review it. It goes through how to make some of those decisions and how to document. Certainly not the only resource. There are many other resources. That's just one. But I think the living will is a very important document. And I've seen people who added to them, wrote a letter at the end, really in much detail, indicating how and their expectations of medical care at the end of life. And it has been such a relief for families who struggle with these decisions. I think it is important for a family conversation because, again, I'm saying these documents need to be prepared by everyone, not just you, not just your spouse, but your adult children. Everyone should have a living will. Everyone should have a power of attorney. And to have open conversations about your perspective and philosophy. Those are the two biggest and most important legal issues or planning documents to consider and work on. There are times that there are other legal issues that need to be attended to. Attorneys can help with estate planning, and that can be important. Some of you may be caregivers for adult children with special needs or have some responsibility towards adult children with special needs. And attorneys can help with that, especially as it relates to estate planning and setting up special needs trusts and things like that. If you are involved with other family members in a family business, it may be good to talk with an attorney as you go through estate planning and future planning. So when we think about finding an attorney, is there an easy way to do that? Not really, but there is some specialists that are more likely to have all the information that would be useful, that specialize in these kind of issues, and that is the field of elder law. Now, if you have a family lawyer, they may be very able to do durable power of attorney. They may be familiar with helping with some of the estate planning, but oftentimes it is elder law that has the most expertise in those things. And if there are complexities to your case, there are complicated family situations where there may be someone who contests, or that there's some complications there, or if you're moving towards more complicated estate planning, it probably would be good to seek out an elder lawyer, someone involved in that specialty. There is a association called the National Academy of Elder Lawyers, and they keep a list of elder lawyers in the area. We have a list to the best of our knowledge as well, and there could be newer elder lawyers on board that would not be necessarily on our list, but we try to keep it updated as much as we can. But that National Academy would have all certified elder lawyers. And the other option is to get recommendations from others. So if you are in a support group, if you're visiting with friends, again, this is not an issue because of a diagnosis. Everybody should be thinking about these things. And so you very well may have friends that have worked with attorneys that have had good experiences, and that certainly is an approach to take. As always, if you have concerns or questions about the topic today, you can certainly reach out to us. Take good care, and we will see you again.